Manager of the Month. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Not always the best award to get.
No, you're right there. And you'd rather get the awards in May or April or whenever it is when it's finished. But as I've said many times, it's the people who work alongside me, my staff in particular. And the award, the manager gets the trophy, but the award's certainly for them and for the work they do behind the scenes. And of course for the team, which is the most important in any football team, any football club, is the team have played well. So nice, but I'd like to pick up the award in April or May, then it's well worth it then.
Tricky one tomorrow, 2 form teams.
Yeah, good team they are. Who've been on a rich vein of form. Never easy. It's never been historically easy for us to go there. So we know how difficult it's going to be. Apparently it's going to be a horrible afternoon in terms of wind and rain. So I've just been told. So it's going to be very, very difficult. But that's what it is. That's what the championship is. It's a wonderful opportunity for ourselves to widen the gap if we can. These are the games that if you can win it, or certainly take a draw, then it keeps the gap. Or if we can widen it with a game in hand, then of course it always helps the cause.
They haven't been beaten in the league since you beat them, I think it was on Boxing Day.
Yeah.
Does that give you some confidence?
Well, it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me with them because, to be fair, and Sean and the team, the way they've performed over the last 2.5 years, 3 years, there's a certain resilience about them. They showed that when they got up and got up handsomely. They showed that in the Premier League last year, weren't quite good enough like ourselves to stay there, but they showed a certain amount of resilience where you know when you play against them, they're well drilled, know what they're doing, got good players, and a really good championship team, which on their patch you'll take some beating, so we'll have to be at our best, that's for sure.
But you did beat them.
Yeah, we beat them handsomely at home. I don't think that counts for anything though, and I think that's the championship. You can go and watch your team one week and see them in the following week and they're totally different. It goes up and down the championship, and we've experienced that. So whatever we did on Boxing Day counts for nothing. It's a new one at Turf Moor, somewhere where we haven't really done well historically over the years. So let's go and make sure that we do and get a result if we can.
And just finally from me, transfer window went pretty well for you, didn't it?
Went as well as I could expect it to be. I knew we wouldn't be that active, but the 2 lads we've brought in, I'm sure can help the squad and enhance the squad. And of course, as I've said repeatedly, the most important thing was to make sure that we held on to the squad that we've got. We've managed to do that, and I have to say we managed to do it with ease. Really, we didn't really have any real big bids to consider or anything like that, which was terrific. It was pretty quiet, possibly one of the quietest Januaries I think I've been involved in for a very long time.
Both players fit, you new lads, for the weekend?
Yeah, but we've let Dusan go home. It was a bit of a rush to get him here just before it, and he was in training camp in Malta. And yeah, Nick is okay, but he's only trained the last couple of days with us, so it's probably a little bit early for Nick, but Dusan joins us officially on Monday, so he won't be involved either.
What about your injuries for this weekend? How are you looking?
I've got none. I've got Maloney is the only one really. We're expecting him to be trained on Monday, so everybody in the squad, 23, 24 of them, are all raring to go.
Josh Timon impressed, didn't he, last weekend? How will you use him this weekend? Will he keep his place?
Well, he's not here, he's with England.
Of course, yeah. I'll answer my own question. What about centre?
You're going to delete that on the telly there, right? You've really done your homework there, no, really. Yeah. He's not with us, he's with England, in the Algarve, looking for him there for a week.
Fair enough.
Like what that was. So he won't feature.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah, pass again.
What about the centre half, Steve? You've got some interesting dilemmas there, have you not?
Look, I've got interesting dilemmas all over the pitch. We made 11 changes last week, and they were terrific at Bury. Not an easy game. The week before we beat, was it Charlton 6? So I've got a really fit, healthy squad, which are going to make it difficult. I hope I pick the right 11, and that's what you get paid for. That's my job at the end of the day, is to pick 11 which I think can go and beat Burnley. And yes, I've got some really difficult decisions to make. Dawson's fit, all of them are fit, so it's a big call tomorrow, and let's hope I get it right.
Got lots of games, haven't you, coming up with the rearranged Nottingham Forest fixture.
Yeah.
How much will
Well,
that test your squad?
Well, it's going to be a test, and that's what always the Championship is. That's what the Championship is, in my opinion. It's an endurance, and it doesn't get any more difficult than what we've got now. You know, we were first week in February, and we finish in the first week in May, and we've got 18 games to play. So it shows you over a 12-week period we've got something like 18, 19 games if you include the cup tie, which is going to be a big ask. So the squad is in good shape, thankfully, which always helps. But that's going to be key, I believe, to realise you can't play with the same intensity if you play Saturday, Tuesday for a huge period of time. I think anybody will tell you that. So picking the squad and picking the team is going to be key to the run-in, certainly, and to what we want to achieve over the next few weeks.
I'm glad we cleared up what's happening with Josh. Have you got any of the youngsters coming through at all then?
No, unfortunately we haven't. Brian Lenihan has just got himself fit. He's had a horrific 18 months. So he will probably, when he gets himself in a better state, will be probably going on loan. The same with Greg Lewis. Once the window opens again, you know, with what we've got and what we've brought in, Greg needs to go and play somewhere. So, you know, we've had a lot of younger players going out on loan and making it permanent with some of them. So we've got one or two, but certainly Josh has been the shining light and shown the way forward, that if you're good enough, doesn't matter what age you are. You know, he's proved that at 16. You know, it was a terrific debut he had. Let's hope there's a few more, and we've got to try and arrest. We're trying to arrest that. Instead of them all playing for England at rugby, they've got to get a few playing for England at football, and that's the aim of the next few years, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Steve, you mentioned
Not like you not like you at all.
Steve was saying, you mentioned the up and down nature of the Championship. Do we come to February now, after the window and everything? Is this where we find out who are the real runners and riders of the promotion?
Well, I think once you get closer to single figures with 9-10 games to play, I think then it comes into it. But I think the Championship is sort of, you've seen over the last 2-3 months anyway, you know, Middlesbrough are there, Burnley are there, ourselves are there, Brighton had a little blip and they all of a sudden come, and then of course you're going to get somebody from nowhere that makes a challenge, so we have to expect that too. You're more really concerned about yourself and what we need to do. We've had a fantastic run. I think in 11 games we've played now, we've won 9 of them, so it's been a good run. And it's vitally important that we keep that going over the critical parts of the season, which is obviously going to be upon us shortly.
You can see the determination from so many clubs to try and get into that top flight. Middlesbrough have spent big to make sure they stay their distance. Even Burnley have spent on, what is it, 6 million on a defender.
Yeah. Well, you'd expect that. You know, we expected that. Burnley, Derby have invested heavily in the summer and in January, and so Middlesbrough, of course, have added their strength and depth and got a goal scorer, which for them is a huge sign and a big sign. If there was an Achilles heel that Middlesbrough had, then they've looked as if they've fixed that with Jordan because of his fantastic goal scoring record. So we know that they're going to pose a threat. However, as we've proved over the last few months, to be sitting on top of them, that with the squad of players that we've got, then we're as good as anybody else. So let's hope we can prove that.
With Burnley, you've got to match their work rate style. Is that kind of the style?
Well, it's a given. It's a given, and you know, with the type of team that we've got with the young players, then we've got that in abundance. With, you know, physical stats, if you want to look at them, then we'll compare to Burnley all day. So it's how you handle the day, how you play on the day. It's going to be an awful day in respect of weather, so that makes it a bit of a leveller. And it's always a difficult game when you go to Turf Moor. So it'll be a big game, tough game, but one we'll look forward to.
What about Gray up front? How big a threat is he? Because he seems to have gone up the leagues quite rapidly, doesn't he, with the big money moves and everything?
Well, we were very close to bringing him in the summer, very close. And unfortunately, he slipped through and went to Burnley, and I had never any doubt when you watch him play frequently, and you see what he did for Brentford last year, that he's a very, very good goal scorer at this level. So we'll have to watch him, of course. He's got blistering pace and power, and he's got tireless work rate to get in there, good appetite for scoring a goal. He's a good player, so we'll have to be on one mettle.
Of course, George Boyd is someone that you know all about as well. You're up against George this weekend.
Well, George, it's one of them ones when you let him go that you're always tinged with a bit of sadness because not only he's a really good player, but he's a delight to manage and a good lad. And one of them horrible decisions that you really don't want to make as a manager, but for George in particular, the lure of playing regularly was the one that tipped him away. So good luck to him. He's a great lad. And he's fondly remembered here, that's for certain.
What about Robert Snodgrass? Obviously, I haven't seen him every week, but how's he coming along?
He's progressing along very, very well, and looks as if, touch wood, that he's overcome the injury and played very well of late. So the more he plays, I'm sure the better he'll become. And we've seen that with Diarmi as well. Diarmi over the last month or so has produced the type of form that we're used to seeing. That takes time after an injury, and the both of them, we've had to box clever a little bit, but we're starting now to see that sowing the seeds of that with patience, which is obviously key when they've been out so long.
They're big players though, aren't they? Their experience as well as their ability, you know, they're going to be key for this running now.
Well, we've got a nice mixture. We've got some very, very good young players that we've got in the team, and we've got some good experienced ones. So the blend, touch wood, so far has gone well. But, you know, we've still got a third of the season left really, so still a long way to go, but certainly they can help. Just
finally, you mentioned the window. Was there everything you wanted to do done in that sort of month, or was there still maybe a few loans that you'd look at?
Hey, make no mistake, I'd love to sign Jordan Rhodes, but obviously we couldn't. But for what we done, I'm very pleased. As I said from the start of the window opening, was key to it was keeping hold of what we've got, and we've managed to do that and added a couple of players to enhance us. So I'm very, very pleased with what we've done.